What if money was never invented? Picture a world where money was never invented. The textbook version goes like this. You want a pair of shoes, so you haul a live chicken across town, hunting for a cobbler who happens to be hungry. Nobody wants your poultry today. Tough luck. You go home barefoot. Economists have a name for this, the double coincidence of wants. I have to want exactly what you have, at the exact moment you want what I've got. It sounds like a daily nightmare, and supposedly, money came riding in to rescue us from it. Here's the twist. That clumsy barter world, the one in every economics class, as far as anyone can actually tell, it never existed. The story we all learned traces back to Adam Smith, 1776. First there was barter, he wrote, so clumsy that people naturally invented money to grease the wheels. Nearly every economics textbook still opens with that exact tale. So anthropologists went looking for Smith's pure barter societies. Out of thousands they studied, they found exactly 0. As Cambridge's Carolyn Humphrey put it, no example of a barter economy, pure and simple, has ever been described. What they found instead was something richer, the gift. Across the Pacific, shell valuables traveled hundreds of miles between islands, given and re-given for honor, never sold. Among the newer of Africa, cattle were wealth, marriage and kinship all at once. Obligation, not price, tied these worlds together. Closer to home, people simply ran on credit and memory. Your neighbor hands you a sack of grain today. You owe him, and the whole village remembers. Trust moved the goods, not haggling over chickens. Follow the paper trail, or in this case, the clay one. In Mesopotamia, 5,000 years ago, debts were pressed into cuneiform tablets. You could owe a debt measured in silver and pay it back entirely in barley. The silver was just the ruler. It barely moved. So picture money here not as coins in a purse, but as a number in a ledger, a promise between two people. Many scholars argue that's what money has been at its core all along. A measure of value first and a physical object only much later. And writing itself, it was born from all this counting. Cuneiform grew out of little clay tokens, and the oldest texts humans ever wrote are not poems or prayers. They're receipts. Our very first authors were accountants. Only then, thousands of years after the first ledgers, do real coins appear. Around 600 BCE, in the kingdom of Lydia, someone stamped a lump of natural gold with a roaring lion. The purse full of coins wasn't the beginning of money, it was a late chapter. So if money never fixed barter, what does it actually do? The real answer is boring and kind of beautiful. It's arithmetic. In pure barter, every good needs a price against every other good. 1,000 goods would need almost 500,000 exchange rates. Money crushes that down to 1,000 prices, one each, and lets the person buying your apples be a total stranger from the one selling you bread. Could an entire civilization run with no money at all? The Inca did. An empire of millions with highways, terraced farms, and vast granaries, and not a single coin. Not even writing. Just knotted strings called quipu and a tax paid in labor. But notice, the Inca ran on ruthless accounting and obligation, not free markets. Try that in a modern economy and it snaps. Soviet planners tried to price a whole nation by hand, with no market to guide them. The result was empty shelves and endless queues. What about the gentler options today? Gift economies, time banks, local currencies, they genuinely work, but mostly among a few hundred people who know each other's names. Scale them up to millions of strangers, and the trust that powers them quietly dissolves. Now here's the real twist. Barter isn't money's childhood. It's its ghost. It only shows up after money dies. Weimar Germans burned banknotes for heat. Zimbabwe printed a $100 trillion note that couldn't buy a single bus ticket. In prisoner of war camps, cigarettes quietly became cash. When American prisons banned smoking, inmates switched to cans of mackerel. And expired, inedible fish still traded at a discount to the fresh ones. A perfect little currency behind bars. Money keeps reinventing itself out of whatever's lying around. Cowrie shells that spread across 3 continents. The Chinese symbol for money is still a little drawing of one. The Aztecs counted wealth in cacao beans. And on the island of Yap, giant stone discs served as money. One even sank to the seafloor during its voyage and still counted as its owner's fortune, because everyone simply agreed it was his. See the pattern? A shell, a bean, a stone no one can lift. None of these are valuable in themselves. Money was never really a thing. It's an idea we all agree to keep believing in together. So the honest answer to our what if? A vast society of strangers seems to need some shared measure, a clay ledger, a coin, or a knotted string. You can escape the coins, you cannot escape the measure. Money grew out of debt, memory, and trust, a promise made countable. Its superpower is that it can put a price on almost anything. And maybe that's its danger too. Once everything has a price, the quiet goodwill that once held us together can slowly get crowded out. So here's my question for you. What in your life should never have a price? Tell me in the comments.